In this respect, weather is kind of like bad drivers. Every place on earth thinks they have the worst ones. Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about chewing gum. I know that's not what you expected when you clicked on the video, but hear me out. Long before I moved to the United States of America, I grew up in the English town of Grimsby. As a child, in order to be down with the cool kids, I used to mosey around with those candy cigarettes between my teeth until they snapped. My teeth, not the candy cigarettes. But I also chewed gum, except we were British lads. We didn't call it gum, we called it spoggy. But later on in my life, I'd leave the town of Grimsby behind forever. That sounded way too dramatic. And I went to university in the English city of Lancaster, and while I was there, once again, even at the age of 20, I tried to be down with the cool kids. And in the first few days, I got really drunk, had lots of beer, and woke up with terrible breath. And I turned to one of my new student friends, we'll call him Bobby, and asked, "Hey Bobby, do you have any spoggy?" And at that moment, all of the goodwill and affection left his eyes to be replaced by confusion. I didn't know it then, but the word spoggy was regional to Grimsby. Now, of course, you're all sitting at home watching my stupid little face and wondering what any of this has to do with weather, apart from the fact that, like chewing gum, weather can get sticky from time to time. Well, many years later, as many of you know, I gave up the green pastures of England for the cornfields of Indiana, USA. And it was while I lived there that I had another spoggy moment, only in reverse. I was standing inside the building of the first place I ever worked in the United States. And just as I was about to leave for the day, a huge surge of water came from the sky, and it wasn't desperate seagulls on this occasion. And I'll always remember it, a colleague who thought he was taking me under his wing for whatever reason, probably because I was British, turned and said to me, "We have a saying here in Indiana, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes." And my initial reaction to this was, "You're hilarious. Please, please take me under your wings, good sir." And I did never see him again after that. Thankfully, sadly, don't know. But this unfathomably wise guru did have a point, because 5 minutes later, it stopped raining. Actually, it was more like 12, but who's counting? Not me, I gave up, because living in Indiana for 8 years, I heard it again and again and again. We have a saying here in Indiana, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes. And sure enough, the weather in Indiana is unpredictable. I've literally gone from snow in the morning to t-shirt weather at night of the same day. Now, of course, as I've referenced in the past here on the Weather Channel, I mean Lost in the Pond, this kind of weather variation happens across multiple states in the nation, including Illinois, where I moved to next. Here, on many occasions, I have left for work in the morning without a jacket and then left work at night to discover the entire city had turned into Greenland. And on one such occasion, a colleague turned to me and said, "We have a saying here in Illinois, if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. They were less optimistic than the folks in Indiana. And firstly, I felt kind of bad because that person clearly wanted me to laugh at a joke that I'd heard as many times as there had been snowflakes. But secondly, I wanted to tell him, hold on, this is Indiana's thing. You can't just go stealing catchphrases. And then I did some reading, some snooping on the internet and discovered that this phrase was all over Illinois and that it wasn't unique to Indiana. I felt cheated. My guru was so convinced that not only was Indiana's weather more unpredictable than any weather system in the United States, but that they and they alone have a monopoly on this saying. He was a lovely man, but I'm not sure I could ever forgive him. But I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because, you know, Indiana, Illinois, they're neighbours. They're allowed to share things from time to time. I mean, cornfields, Maya, and the letter I. But I got curious, and as I said, I started to talk about weather a lot on my channel. I'm British, leave me alone. And a common refrain in the comments section was, "We have a saying in X state, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes." And given all of the unseasonably warm weather we've had here in Illinois of late, I was reminded of this fact and did what any bespectacled YouTuber by the name of Lawrence Brown would do. I went to Twitter. Essentially, very tongue-in-cheek, I wanted to get to the bottom of this, and I asked, is this saying basically a nationwide thing at this point? I was partially being sarcastic because I know for a fact there are places on the West Coast and in the Southwest that don't have weather systems that fit this bill. Nonetheless, a lot of the responses to the question really grabbed my attention. And that's because this very saying, the one that I'm talking about in this video, was reported in Kentucky, Maryland, Nebraska, Connecticut, North Dakota, Colorado, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, Wisconsin, Ohio, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, Utah, Missouri, Texas, Iowa, Arkansas, Manitoba, Alberta and just Canada in general. And then, and this was a big surprise to me, one person heard it in England and Scotland and Wales and South Africa. So I think we have to accept that rapidly changing weather, unlike the word spoggy, is not unique to just one place. In this respect, weather is kind of like bad drivers. Every place on earth thinks they have the worst ones. Now, some people in Oklahoma have told me that the saying originated with actor and humorist Will Rogers. And while there are, of course, many quote aggregators out there that ascribe to Will Rogers the quote, "If you don't like the weather in Oklahoma, just wait 5 minutes," nobody's provided a source for this. It's as if somebody decided it's the sort of thing he might have said and ascribed it to him without his knowledge after the fact. It sort of goes hand in hand with that well-known Will Rogers quote, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet." And for those of you in New England who are currently screaming at this video insisting Mark Twain came up with this quote, again, there's no primary sources that back up that claim either. But that's not to say that Mark Twain didn't have witticisms about the weather, because he famously said, "The coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco." He never actually said that either. And with respect to the 5 minutes saying, I could finish today's video by saying something like, it's more important to be truthful than funny, but then that wouldn't really endear me to the cool kids. Can you pass me some spoggy?